How to deal with barrenness. Powerful lessons from biblical stories of 8 barren couples. Have you ever wondered why some couples in the Bible faced the painful challenge of barrenness? Why did God allow it? And what can we learn from their stories? Many people today struggle with waiting, hoping, and praying for children, asking, what if we never have a child? In today's video, we'll explore lessons from biblical stories of barren couples. Those who received miraculous children and those who didn't. We'll dive into their challenges, their faith, and how they kept their marriages strong. Finally, we'll talk about how couples today can find hope and purpose, even if the journey of waiting doesn't end in the birth of a child. Story 1. Abraham and Sarah, Genesis 21, 1-7. Let's start with Abraham and Sarah. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, but Sarah, his wife, was barren for many years. Their long wait, along with Sarah's decision to give her servant Hagar to Abraham, created tension in their marriage. But when Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90, God fulfilled his promise and gave them their son, Isaac. The Bible says, "The Lord did for Sarah as he had promised." Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Genesis 21, 1-2. They faced years of disappointment and impatience, leading to strife and confusion when Sarah tried to take control of the situation by involving Hagar. God's promises are always fulfilled, even if they take time. Trusting his timing is key to faith. Couples facing long seasons of waiting must remain united. The story of Abraham and Sarah shows how taking matters into our own hands can bring division, but trusting God together strengthens the bond. Story 2. Isaac and Rebekah, Genesis 25, 21-26. The story of Isaac and Rebekah, Abraham's son and daughter-in-law, mirrors that of his parents. Rebekah was barren for 20 years, and Isaac turned to prayer, asking God to bless them with children. God answered, and Rebekah conceived twins, Jacob and Esau. The Bible says, Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. Genesis 25:21. Isaac and Rebekah faced 20 years of waiting, and Isaac had to support his wife through her sorrow and confusion. God hears the prayers of the faithful. When we trust in him and lean on prayer, he responds in ways we may not expect. Isaac's patience and dedication to praying for his wife show how important it is for couples to support one another emotionally and spiritually. Marriage grows stronger when couples seek God's help together in difficult times. Story 3. Rachel and Jacob, Genesis 31:24. Rachel, the beloved wife of Jacob, faced deep sorrow as her sister Leah bore Jacob many sons while she remained barren. Desperate, Rachel even said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Genesis 30:1. Jacob was distressed, but reminded her that only God could give the gift of life. After years of waiting and anguish, God finally opened Rachel's womb, and she gave birth to Joseph and later Benjamin. The Bible says, "Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, 'God has taken away my disgrace.'" Genesis 30:22-23. Rachel's jealousy of Leah strained her marriage, and her desperation led to tension with Jacob. Rachel's story reminds us that God hears the cries of the brokenhearted, even when hope seems lost. Patience is key. Jacob and Rachel's story highlights how jealousy and comparison can harm a relationship. Couples should focus on supporting one another rather than comparing themselves to others. Story 4. Hannah and Elkanah, 1 Samuel 1:9-20. Hannah, the wife of Elkanah, was barren while Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, had children and taunted her. Hannah was heartbroken, but Elkanah loved her deeply and reassured her, saying, "Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons?" 1 Samuel 1:8. Hannah prayed fervently to God, and he answered her by giving her a son, Samuel, whom she dedicated to God's service. The Bible says, "So, in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, 'Because I asked the Lord for him.'" 1 Samuel 1:20. Hannah faced deep sorrow and ridicule, while Elkanah had to support her through her pain, even when he couldn't fully understand it. God hears our prayers, and even in the darkest times, He is faithful. Hannah's persistence in prayer teaches us to never give up hope. Elkanah's love and patience for Hannah despite her distress show the importance of emotional support and understanding in a marriage. Even in times of deep sorrow, love and compassion are crucial. Story 5. Zechariah and Elizabeth. Luke 1:5-25, 57-66. Zechariah and Elizabeth were an elderly couple who were childless despite living righteous lives. Zechariah, a priest, was visited by the angel Gabriel, who told him that his wife would give birth to a son, John, who would prepare the way for the Lord. Despite their old age, God blessed them with this miraculous birth. The Bible says, "But the angel said to him, 'Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John.'" Luke 1:13. The couple endured the shame of childlessness, especially in a culture that viewed children as a sign of God's favor. Zechariah doubted the angel's message, leading to him being mute until the child was born. Zechariah and Elizabeth's story shows that it is never too late for God to move. Faith in His promises, no matter the timing, is vital. Their patience and devotion to each other through long years of unanswered prayers illustrate the importance of standing firm together in faith. Their unity, even in old age, brought about God's great purpose for their family. Story 6. The Shunammite woman and her husband. 2 Kings 4:8-17. The Shunammite woman and her husband were childless despite their wealth. They hosted the prophet Elisha in their home, and out of gratitude, Elisha prophesied that she would bear a son. His prophecy came true, and she gave birth to a child the following year. The Bible says, "But the woman became pregnant, and the next year, about that same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her." 2 Kings 4:17. Though content with their life, the couple faced the silent pain of childlessness until God intervened. Sometimes unexpected blessings come when we show kindness and hospitality. The Shunammite woman's quiet faith and generosity paved the way for a miracle. This couple's partnership in showing generosity to Elisha teaches us the value of working together and being generous as a team. Through unity, they found unexpected blessings. Story 7. Manoah and his wife. Judges 13. The story of Samson's parents, Manoah and his wife, is found in Judges 13. Manoah's wife was barren, but an angel of the Lord appeared to her, announcing that she would give birth to a son who would deliver Israel from the Philistines. The angel gave specific instructions. The child was to be a Nazirite from birth, meaning he was set apart for God's service. Manoah prayed for further guidance, and the angel returned to confirm the message. Their story highlights God's sovereignty and purpose in overcoming barrenness. Despite years of childlessness, God had a divine plan for their son, Samson, even before his conception. This teaches that sometimes barrenness can be part of a larger purpose, and God's timing is perfect. Manoah and his wife showed unity and trust in God's message. They prayed together for guidance, demonstrating the importance of spiritual partnership in marriage, especially during challenging times. Their faith in God's plan brought about the birth of Samson, showing that even in barrenness, couples should remain hopeful and united, trusting that God has a purpose. Story 8. Michal and David. 2 Samuel 6:16-23. In the story of Michal and David, 2 Samuel 6:16-23, Michal despised David for his open and humble worship before God, which she found undignified for a king. David reminded her that his devotion to God took precedence over status, as worship was an act of humility and gratitude toward God. Michal's hardened heart and scorn led to her barrenness, which the Bible links to her attitude toward David's worship and her disrespect for her husband's faith. Michal's barrenness came as a consequence of her actions, but not all cases of barrenness are due to sin or mistakes. Barrenness can serve various purposes in God's plan, including testing faith, displaying God's power, or fulfilling different callings beyond children. For couples facing ongoing barrenness, they are encouraged to embrace the other purposes of marriage, love, companionship, and service, while exploring options like adoption or medical help if possible. Barrenness is not a biblical reason for divorce, and couples are called to remain united, trusting God's plan for their lives. Even if a couple doesn't have children, they still have a full life ahead of them. God can use them in ways they never imagined, to mentor others, serve the community, or fulfill other purposes. Psalm 113:9 says, "He settles the childless woman in her home as a happy mother of children." God can bring joy into your life in unexpected ways. It's crucial for couples to maintain open communication, emotional support, and love for each other. Make sure your relationship is not built solely around the desire for children. Enjoy your companionship, grow spiritually together, and serve others as a team. Ephesians 5:31 speaks of marriage as a picture of Christ and the church. Your marriage can still glorify God in many ways, even without children. Focus on building each other up and strengthening your relationship. The Bible never gives barrenness as a reason for divorce. Marriage is a covenant before God, designed for love and unity, regardless of whether children are part of it. Divorce due to barrenness goes against the purpose of biblical marriage. Many couples find joy and fulfillment in adoption. The Bible encourages us to care for orphans and those in need, James 1:27. Adoption can be a beautiful way to provide a loving home to a child who needs one, reflecting the heart of God who adopts us into His family. Today, we have medical technologies that didn't exist in biblical times. For some couples, fertility treatments or other medical interventions might be a path God uses to bring about the miracle of children. However, even when seeking medical help, remember to pray for wisdom and guidance. In short, each of these biblical stories, whether it's Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Hannah, Zechariah, and Elizabeth, the Shunammite woman, Manoah and his wife, or Michal, teaches us important lessons about faith, waiting on God, the power of prayer, and maintaining a healthy relationship in marriage. Some couples received miraculous breakthroughs, while Michal faced lifelong struggles. For couples going through a season of waiting or disappointment, these stories offer hope, encouragement, and valuable lessons for marriage. Remember that your value, your purpose, and your joy do not depend solely on having children. God has a plan for you as a couple, one that can still be rich and full, even if it looks different from what you first imagined. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more from the Bible, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's spread these lessons to those who need encouragement today.